Hi, thanks for tuning in. My name is Christian, and I work on the on-call scheduler that I hope will help save you a lot of headaches, a lot of manual work. I've spent about 15 years of my career so far, either working on call or leading teams that work on call, or in one way or another, interacting with on-call work. And I know what a challenging situation it is to work on call. Often you end up supporting stuff that maybe you didn't write or you don't work with day to day, or things that you were built 10 years ago by somebody else. A lot of stress, really tough jobs. One aspect of on-call work, though, that I've always felt we should be able to just fix and make great, even if many other aspects of on-call work remain difficult, is the scheduling. When you work, making it more predictable, giving you control over it, and so forth. And so hence, uh, I'm building the on-call scheduler. Uh, I'm talking about problems like with today's scheduling solutions, like the scrambling you get when somebody leaves the team. Many of today's scheduling solutions for on-call, they just have a list of people and they work shifts in an order, and somebody leaves, they get removed from the middle, and everybody else just moves up. Everybody's schedule gets scrambled and people's vacation plans, and not a good idea. Or the problem that you just forget to do the schedule. You did it 6 months ago, you set it for 6 months forward, and then you realize, uh-oh, we only have an on-call schedule for 4 more weeks. Then you have to scramble to fill it, to lay the schedule. Or all the work wasted on manually iterating over the schedule, as every time you come up with the schedule, people come up with a bunch of preferences and limitations that they hadn't mentioned ahead of time. You have to rework it and change it, and it's just a lot. It can be many hours of wasted work by somebody every week instead of building the things that we should be building. The problem that is not fair. I worked Christmas last year. Why am I being asked to work Christmas this year? And do I have any kind of sense that there's fairness, that I get something in return for working Christmas all these years in a row? Or when volunteers step in to take on extra painful shifts that other people don't want to work, do they get something out of it? So anyway, like I said, hence the on-call scheduler that aims to solve all these kinds of problems that I mentioned. I call it the on-call scheduler. It's like the most boring name you could imagine, but it's on purpose. I think we end up dealing with so many tools at work, both internal and external, right? And they all have these fanciful names because they intend to become huge tools that take over the world in the future, right? But not On-Call Scheduler is named On-Call Scheduler following the same reasoning we do when we name variables as we write code, right? It's like, it should just be descriptive. This is a tool that once you have it set up and running, you wouldn't interact with it more than once every few months. Neither the person administering the schedule for a rotation nor the members would interact with it more often than that. And so hopefully the name makes it easy to remember what that URL was that you have to go to, or what the thing was where you go and enter your scheduling preferences. At the core of this system, it's a credit-based system. So it's kind of a mini market economy for exchanging shifts or getting shifts assigned, although not as complicated as the real economy. Everybody has a set of credits. You get credits when a shift is assigned to you. You pay credits to everybody else when they get shifts assigned to them. You can take some of these credits that you have earned and you can bid them to avoid working on certain dates or certain holidays or events. So you can enter and say, hey, I'll bid 1 credit to avoid working Christmas, or 1 credit to avoid working on Super Bowl Sunday, or whatever date you want to make sure not to have the pager go off. And you can also pay a little bit of credits to self-select the shifts that are just good for you. Rather than getting shifts auto-assigned to you, you can go proactively select the shifts that you want to work. If you end up working shifts that are undesirable, so let's say you choose to work the Thanksgiving shift and some other people have bid to avoid the Thanksgiving shift, then you'll get more credits for working that undesirable shift than you would for working any other random shift, which in turn means that you will end up working less shifts in total because you took on an undesirable shift. That's really the core value proposition of this app. So as I said, you can go pick your own shifts as well, but most people, they won't want to go do that every few months and kind of proactively look into the future. And it's totally fine. The system auto allocates shifts to people at the set time horizon in the future, which by default is 6 months. So look 6 months ahead, and it's continuously allocating the shift at that 6-month boundary into the future. And it does this by looking at the credit standings that everybody has. So the next shift to assign gets assigned to the person with the least credits, except if that person has bid to avoid working on a date during that shift. And there's an algorithm that figures this out. You can learn more about later. But 6 months into the future is always scheduled, so it's predictable. You have control because you can enter your preferences and you can self-select shifts that you want to work. When somebody leaves the rotation, I talked about it not just being one of these silly systems where everybody else gets notched up to work one shift earlier and everybody's plans are scrambled. No, instead, the shifts that get opened up because somebody left, the system starts an auction to fill those shifts. And the way it works is everybody in the rotation gets an email that says, hey, this shift needs to be urgently filled. And so the credit value, the number of credits you get for working this shift is now 50% more than you usually would get. And then the system will wait for 3 days and see if somebody says, oh, that's a great deal, and takes it. If not, it'll offer 175% the value of the normal shift. And then it waits 3 days, and then it offers double the value that you would normally get from a shift. And what I've seen in running a prototype for this with a few people is somebody will usually gladly take one of these shifts at the higher value, 50% or 75% or 100%, to the point where the person who eventually takes it feels like a winner. It feels like this is a great deal. I'm going to get 50% more credits, which means I'll work less shifts in total because I took on this undesirable shift that needed to be scheduled more urgently. So somebody ends up feeling like a winner in this situation often. Compare that to how it probably works for your team today, how it certainly worked for my teams in the past. When somebody leaves the team, a bunch of shifts open up in their schedule, what happens? A manager has to go around, ask for volunteers. They find somebody who, out of the goodness of their heart, volunteers and said, yeah, I'll take it. And that person knows that they're not going to get anything. Like, they're not going to get scheduled less. Nobody will remember this 6 months from now. It's just a bad situation all around. The manager feels bad for asking. The fourth volunteer they ask, who eventually says yes, feels like maybe they're not setting boundaries enough. This system turns that on its head, turns into a situation where somebody actually gets a fair, good deal for stepping in and taking on that urgent shift. So anyway, that's an example of how the system works. It's really easy to get started. It'll take you like 5 minutes to set up a rotation, define the schedule with the shift structure over time. However you run that today. If you follow the sun schedules, works fine with the system. You can set it up to synchronize with alerting systems. Right now it supports PagerDuty and custom alerting systems with the REST API and events you can plug into. But I'd love to hear from you what else you would like to see from the solution, if there's anything that you find is a limitation as you explore it. More alerting systems to integrate with, maybe additional ways to do authentication of users. Using it is free for 6 months, which means you will get 12 months worth of scheduling for free. And if you decide not to use it after that, no problem. You won't have entered any credit card. There's no commitment that you have to remember to cancel, stuff like that. No. You'll have your 12 months scheduled and synced into your alerting system and such. But I feel confident that you'll find this to be such a valuable tool. It just gets scheduling out of the problems that you think about every day. It's just constantly churning in the background and solving scheduling, such that the $1 per user per month that you would get charged after 6 months is well worth the tiny cost. So thanks for listening, and I'd love to hear from you what else you'd like to see in the solution. Bye.